Hello ladies, hello gentlemen, welcome to Half the Race Gone for the Nukeshot Endurance Series. Round 4 here from the Red Bull Ring. We're watching the long-awaited return of Armored Core, the American, who's been a household name at the top of proceedings here in the NES. He's back in the Hyundai Vision Gran Turismo machine. We've got Martin and Ryan and Wake as well of the TSR gang. We've got CJ from Volex Esports, and that's just mentioning the LMPs. Now we've got GT Pro qualifying coming up, and that is of course excuse me, that is of course a big fight between of course I was about to say Armored Core, that's not right, that's Fred Dude of course, and Joe of the Fire, the Joe 2 guy. So of course a very warm welcome to everyone tuning in here for this evening's event. For the race here we've got a rainy qualifying session indeed. Hello Martin, hello CJ, hello Ryan, welcome to all of you. And full wets it is for the first time here on Half the Race Gone in GT Sport. Wet conditions for a race, and it is very wet here for qualifying indeed. It is gonna forecasts are calling that it's gonna dry up before the race starts, so we're gonna have a dry race but a wet qualifying session nonetheless. 10 minutes for the GTs is on here. Joe of the Fire, and I'm just gonna quickly have a look at the GT driver standings in the pros. It's Fred Dude leading with 40 points in front of Joe of the Fire with 38. And then it's Swablu with 25 points. Y-Bear with 22. Opiolu's on 21. Canoni on 11. Then it's Gentleman Racing on 4. Alongside Ryan Ruby, Toshust as well. Then Skyjagger and Roland Jupiter, who's yet to score a point in the pro ranks. Here is Joe of the Fire nursing the Toyota FT1 around. Fred Dude, the championship leader in the GT series. I think the M6 is gonna cope pretty well with the rain here. Joe of the Fire, of course, already sliding about on his lap as well before. And it does seem like it's very tricky conditions indeed. It's gonna be somewhat different than what we're used to seeing, and I think it's gonna be a good one. It's gonna upset the running order quite a bit here. Opiolu in the Corvette, Ryan Ruby in the Audi R8. I wouldn't say that any of these cars are necessarily amazing for running in the rain. I think Ruby here seems to agree very much with me as he puts it into the... Oh, and he actually goes for a full 360. And it's in a great deal of trouble. Ryan Ruby in the Fanta R8 in the 45 machine, the teammate of the Canoni brothers. Here is Joe of the Fire on the first flyer. MC Dirten. Into turn 4 he goes. Oh, keeping it under control. This one difficult. The rear already wanting to go. Y-Bear in the pits. That's early for the Indonesian. Oh, he's done a lap on racing super softs on slicks, so that's of course a good reason to pit in. Good evening to Felix. Good evening, Hundy, as well. A pleasure to have you along, and I hope you are doing well. I hope you've enjoyed the weekend. It goes out to all of you. Mr. Nukeshot himself, the man formerly known as Apple, is amongst us as Joe of the Fire is about to complete the first flying lap. Coming down towards the final corner here, and he goes on board with the witty professor. And let's see, what is it gonna be? rejoined from Roland Jupiter. Hello, Bambi as well. 146 dead for Joe of the Fire. Now what's that gonna be for Fred, dude? I'm just still only here on the opening minutes. He's not gonna better that. It's about a second off the time set by Joe of the Fire there, though Fred dude has been the quickest of the runners here in the GT class over the opening couple of rounds. Opiolu has been purple over the first couple of sectors. It seems very wet indeed, Martin. Hundi, I am not in doubt that you would be fast enough to take part in the NES, and I think we have space both in the AM and Pro splits. I think I'll hit you up with the GT Planet thread if you want to have a look at it. I think it's not too late to sign up. It's never too late. And certainly I think the NES spans across all levels. Now I'm in all my searching for links and stuff, completely managing to miss the fact that Opiolu is now 1.5 seconds up on Joe of the Fire. Really doing well. Really doing well in the wet conditions. And the Corvette seems very stable here as well. Evening to Francois Light. But Hundi, I've raced you before, and you're not by any means, I'd say, that slow whatsoever. I think you'd be pro split material. But what do I know? Opiolu provisionally on pole position. Here is Joe of the Fire. Quite close there. Fred Dude has really carved a lot of that advantage off. In fourth at the moment is Ryan Ruby in the R8. Had quite a bit of trouble there earlier on with just under 4 minutes left of the session here. Joe of the Fire just a little bit off at the moment. Martin too early on it as well. Roland seeming really to suffer the connection issues here early on. Here is Ybear. And of course, a good evening and a warm welcome to everyone who's tuning in here during our very wet qualifying session. And as a commentator, as a broadcaster, and as a viewer of the race, as a spectator, of course, I find it a little bit of a shame that we're not going to be running the entirety of the race under wet conditions. But I think some of the drivers will feel the same way. Some of the drivers will be more than pleased that we're going to have dry conditions for the race itself. Here now, Ybear going a little wide in turn one, seems very off the pace in the qualifying session here. Ryan Ruby, the Audi R8 still seems twitchy, and that's not a hot lap whatsoever. We've got 2.5 minutes remaining of the GT qualifying session, then it'll be open for the LMPs. Joe of the Fire having bettered the time, but haven't been able to get anywhere close to Opiolu, it seems. And then Fred Dude, 0.8 of a second off of Joe of Fire. We're seeing big time differences here in the wet, much bigger than we're used to seeing under more controllable dry conditions. As there's a big deal of wheel spin there for Joe of the Fire coming out of turn 3. By no means what he would have wanted here. Oh, Fred Dude has suffered some connection issues as well. Hopefully when we get a track reset for race conditions, it's gonna improve. And he was 0.8 off of Joe of the Fire's time. That would have put him 1.8 seconds off of the 144.3 set by Opiolu. In turn, that's a 146.1. In turn, Opiolu looking like he is going to improve with a minute left of the session, there'll be time for, I think, no more than this lap. Just about might be time for another one. It's gonna be one more at least for Joe of the Fire. Ryan Ruby is going slowly, it seems, but it's gonna be the final lap. No, yeah, this one is gonna be the final one, and as well this one for Joe of the Fire. And we're gonna follow Opiolo on board here with the Corvette, with the rain falling. Oh, gets squiddly there through the middle sector. And the question is that gonna cost time on the personal best? Dares to go over the curbs. And yet again here, throws it in. Keeps it stable on the exit. Seems to have a very good setup here for the rain. And that is indeed another improvement for Opiolo, looking very strong to take pole position after we've had 10 minutes and time run out for the GT Pros. Joe of the Fire, final attempt, but it's a massive improvement needed. 1.1 second. And there's Wybear almost getting in the way of teammate Aaron as well. Same gonna go for Ryan Ruby, who's having a big spot of bother here, keeping the Audi R8 under control. I think that is dry setups, running in wet conditions, and seems to have the need for softer suspension and easier going diff settings as well. Here Joe of the Fire is gonna be held up. And what's it gonna be over the cross the line? That's gonna be no sort of improvement whatsoever. Half a second off the personal best, so it is gonna be Opiolo on pole position as Wybear completes the final one as well. Fred Dude is gonna be third in the GTs. And yet, Josh, maybe you can join the aim split to set a time, and then when the conditions change here, you'll be able to tag in here. Somebody goes very, very deep. That was Joe of the Fire, binning it at the end of the long straight here into turn 3. And now we're just awaiting the go signal for the LMPs. And that served us with a little bit of surprises here and there. With the qualifying session, Opiolo on pole position in the Corvette. Handbraking it to park it in the gravel trap as well. We're just awaiting the go signal for the LMPs. As mentioned before, third place in qualifying with the time set before is, of course, Fred Dude, and here comes the LMPs to the pit lanes. And of course, I think it is fingers crossed for CJ. Well, Felix, I think he's gonna need to cross fingers in the Tomahawk, because the 3 TSR Porsches should be at a big advantage to the non-hybrids here in the wet conditions. Want those LMPs to get running. I think Wybear is AFK at the moment. No, he's not. So with that, LMP qualifying just about to begin. CSR gang, of course, amongst the favorites. So would Martin normally be. And CJ, I think, though, have to see. I think it should be a good track, a high-speed track, indeed. Still awaiting that start signal. 15 minutes. That's in 35 seconds from now. So it is indeed. It is indeed close now. And of course, a big part of this series, the action is the multi-class racing, the traffic that give it, the traffic that take it as well. I don't think track is open yet, but someone's gone out there. 15 minutes, here it is. Someone was off a little early, that was Sailor. Yeah, he is lonely flying the flag tonight, Felix. We'll have to see how it goes. Of course, as mentioned before, would expect to be both Sailor and CJ at a bit of a disadvantage here in Armored Core. Is that a four-wheel drive car, the Hyundai? I actually think it is. But of course not with the hybrid system. So we'll see what kind of difference that makes, as 2 of the 3 Porsche 919s, Porsche massively represented, with 2 of 3 people also speaking this somewhat in this accent. Sorry for it was actually one of those cotton mouth, getting dry mouth from drinking too much coffee, and then it just happens all by itself. But anyways, it's outlap time, and we're watching Armored Core go around. Sailor still first, very high revving, but not very noisy. Hyundai, first Korean manufacturer to be in the NES. Oh yeah, the track is wet with Ethan's tears. The saddest of boys. What's up, Ethan? And it's always nice to have you along. I hope your weekend has been nice. Here's Sailor first off for the qualifying laps. And as of course in the rain, more or less anything can happen, and that is, I think, an understatement, as Sailor goes massively wide and has problems just getting the power down. Of course, the torquey nature of that diesel engine isn't really gonna help too much. I think we're gonna see an easier nature to Armored Core's car there. He is also 4 or 5 tenths up already at this early point of the lap. And what's up, Mr. Bear? Yeah, Ethan, that's brings a somber vibe to anything, more or less. Wake, showing that it's not easy to bring the 919s around, even although they've been said to be favored. Wake seeming to be suffering somewhat. Look at how the machine just understeers, seems to be plowing here, and he misses the apex through the middle sector. Has to be careful on throttle throughout there. Seems to be okay though. Here is Sailor, and that gap is all but gone down to Armored Core. Has to be careful now not to get in the way of the American. I'd just be lucky to pick up a little bit of a tow here to the line. And Armored Core 8 seconds in front of the Norwegian in the Audi. Wake is a little bit down. That's 1 second. Martin not up to the pace as well of those guys. Here is Ryan, seeming to be on an absolute stunner. That's a 1:30.5. Improves by the time set by Armored Core by 1.1 second. And in the meantime, CJ's gone through 5th fastest at the moment, 3.8 seconds down on Ryan. All right, Hunty. Well, best of luck in the ESGT as well. I hope also to be able to catch some kind of broadcasts of those really interesting concepts from over there, I was about to say, organized by some of the very dedicated GT Sport Americans of Apex Motorsports and Turismo Racing here. CJ gets a big slide on. And there is Armored Core second at the moment, coming close to the halfway mark of the LMP qualifying run. Mind you, their 10 minutes started at 15 minutes in the timer at the bottom left corner of your screen. Armored Core not really improving here. Very wide as well in turn 1. Wake having gotten close to the time of the American. Martin about half a second, a little bit more down. Oh, is Martin getting very sketchy? It goes, well, more than sketchy. Nose into the barriers. And that is the entire cookie engine damage as well. That's going to be a big blow to Martin's chances of improving upon his lap set early in this qualifying session. And so those curbs naturally will be very slippery as well. You'll have to be careful not to get in the way of the other runners here at this point in the session. Armored Core is in the middle part, seeming not too scared of the curbs. Could be a setup thing, able to go very far over this one. In the Hyundai, look how low it is to the ground, this machine. And no real rear wing as well. Only aero made around the rear fenders, and then by that shark tail, the fin tail, the shark fin. Shark tail, fin tail. I don't know, I guess both of those are things. None of those are the right thing, but he did manage to improve upon his own personal best by about 0.3 here. Now Wake getting the better of Armored Core's time, only just 15 thousandths of a second up. Very close indeed, the Belgian. And Martin, well, finally having reached the pits, should be able to get another lap in. I say should, I'm not really sure here. Ryan in as well. I think that's a damage fixing pit stop as well for Ryan. So Ryan has had some kind of contact that's gone off. It's gone on and he's gone off outside of the view of our cameras. Somewhat problematic for our pole setter there. Might be missing out on a good opportunity to improve upon the lap there. Wake seems to have some trouble with the rear end of the 919. Even that car seems to both over and understeer at different points of throttle input and traction for him. Seems very tricky for the Belgian to get it around. Impressive to find him provisionally in second position on the grid. Though it looks like Ryan is going to take pole position. We're going to have to see what it looks like when he gets round here. Now Armored Core, just as I say that, goes fastest. And we're just going to have a look here with Wake. What is it going to be for the Belgian? No improvement whatsoever here, but Armored Core 0.7 faster than Ryan. That's impressive. Hyundai looks set for a pole position here late in the session, just under 2 minutes left. Looks very strong in the rain. Question is if it's going to be as fast in the dry conditions here. And of course, CJ is going to have his work cut out for him in the Tomahawk. Same goes for Sailor in the Audi. Good evening to the original Demi. Nice to have you along. You've tuned in at quite a good time actually. Since we're nearing the end of the qualifying session, there's going to be a short break. And if stuff's gonna be happening on time. And Joe, who's the lobby host for the pro split here, he seems to me, I've known him pretty well by now. He's quite the orderly guy usually. So I'd expect the lobby to go forth and the race to begin on time, and that'd be in 5 minutes from now, which is of course what we're hoping for. The race, which is going to be held in dry conditions. Incredible what 5 minutes can do. The tears of Ethan dry up quickly. Of course, if it's your first time tuning in to have the race going, do consider, if you want to, if you feel like it, to subscribe for more of the same, more GT Sport, more other types of sim racing action as well. iRacing, Assetto Corsa. Well, have you even done any AC content yet? I hardly even think so. Nevertheless, though, Dirt Rally 2.0. Here's the checkered flag for the LMP Pro session, and I was just about to round the other sentence off with, of course, if you like what we do here with the NES, leave a like on the video, as well as it would be hugely appreciated. Sailor there getting a big moment of oversteer. Armored Core has one final go, and I think Ryan is going to be crossing the line even before Ryan with one more attempt. Yeah, I've also seen my racing gone down dramatically. I have hardly even raced on iRacing while paying for it here over the last bit of time, being in between jobs and having to look for stuff, and it's been hard really concentrating that much. I've been on Assetto Corsa cruising, as I always really enjoy doing stuff like LA Canyons, Glencoe, Lake Louise, many of the hill climb tracks like the Sestriere and stuff like that. Oh yeah. Indeed, sim racing system, not a bad place to do your sim racing. I've had my share of very good racing on there as well. So the LMP's now parking up. Martin's gonna see what it's like on Supersofts. I know what he's gonna find out. He can hardly put down the throttle without spinning the car. This is my take on it. Do you also get interviewed afterwards by the Goodwood guy? Maybe getting some questions about all the money you raised for some charity or something like that either. I certainly, when I do Dirt and Rally, I get a lot of questions about what tires I was using for the stage. The drivers make it quick. There should be 3 minutes. I'll tell them to make it quick. There, Martin Nice provide us with some entertainment. And let's just have a look at the Red Bull Ring. Of course, I wouldn't expect any one of you not to be familiar with this track. It has been a... Thanks, Martin. Martin, if you're listening, can you do some laps, please? The right way around? Foolish Dutchman. Look at this fool. Godverdomme. Maybe someone else will be up for showing us around track here. Well, Ethan, that seems like a very good cause to my mind, and I can only encourage the donations. Martin showing us the track the wrong way around. That's there is CJ. Let's go on board with the Mad Greek, who seems to be more sane than Martin, nonetheless. So here it is. Well, turn 4, actually it is turn 3 here, of course. One of the biggest overtaking zones, biggest braking zones as well. Biggest chances of overtaking as well into turn 4. I'd be confused for a second before I looked at the mini-map. But it is very alike, although it's downhill instead of uphill, so much easier to get the braking wrong. Accelerating through the opening right-hander doesn't really straighten up before here. Very wide. To hug the long left-hander. A short touch of the curb, and then it's another one left. Trying to straighten out this right-hander and going across the curb, but that's of course down to the setup of the car in the end. And then the final combination of 2 consecutive right-handers, could call them the Lesmos of Red Bull Ring, because they are actually quite similar in both placing and shape to the Lesmos of yeah, I'd like to see the Lesmos of Monza, just to finish that up. But anyways, Ethan, yes, I would like to see more of those added. By now we've had those same 10 standard things to say. Hello, Wake. Nice to have you along. And best of luck for the race. Shockingly sweet. And the flavor of Wake. When we will see a waffles, a car sponsored by the thing that is Belgian waffles. Perhaps you could feature it like the Belgian tourism board or something, and then just have Belgian waffles. What's up, Pac? It's an honor having a legend as yourself watching from the other side of things, so to say. Nah, I'm sorry. I'll keep the jokes more tasteful. CJ putting in the first lap time here, dry conditions here, and the pace is very different all of a sudden. Very different indeed. Opiolu, our pole sitter in the GTs. It's going to be interesting to see whether they can hold up the challenge that's going to be coming from behind from both Fred Dude and Joe of the Fire. Armored Core with a very good time, our pole sitter in the LMPs for Hyundai. It's going to be interesting to see how it's going to add up in the end. And that's a good point Joe just made to me, that if the safety car is to come out today, the pits are closing until the entire field has gathered up. Make it a little less random. I don't think that smiley was in. It's not a smiley anymore, it's an emoji now, apparently. I was told by one of my friends not too long ago. We should be getting ready to race by now. We should have been ready to race some minutes ago, but people are obviously slow to be getting on time, goddammit. I can't hit the keys. Remember the minute silence? See, I was just about to. I was. Of course, we're gonna have a minute of silence. I was just about to. A minute of silence, you everyone. But of course, we're gonna have a minute of silence. What an appropriate thing to read just before our minute of silence. Oh, we're gonna do it at the race start. That's actually a nice place to do it. Well, he could be sandbagging Ryan. It wouldn't be the first time we've seen something of the like. We'll have to have a look at it when the race gets underway. Hopefully, it shouldn't be too long by now. There's Wybear. Seems to be running somewhat better. Is that Martin taking this stuff to new levels? He's getting minus laps? Oh, you can't get minus laps here. So here it is, the start of the race, getting up, coming along. Everyone, of course, with a minute of silence for Antoine, who passed away on Spa this weekend. I think everyone of you, just as well as I know of this tragic incident. And another tragic reminder of the dangers that are inherent in the end with most kinds of motorsports. And just because it gets safer along the years, well, it doesn't mean that all risks are being eliminated just like that. So we're gonna have a minute of silence before the drivers get along. Joe obviously hasn't set the grid. We're now being told, psych! More waiting. Good job. Of course, as always, I'm here with well, what else could it be than a cup of coffee? What else could keep me talking for an hour watching GT Sport? Well, of course it is coffee. The wonder drug of wonder drugs. The next, third best tasting liquid of this kind of color after Coca-Cola and chocolate milk. I'm very bad at advertising, as you can tell. Of course, with that said, away with the cheerful mood on my sake, and we're gonna have 1 minute of silence. So with a minute having gone, and with the respectful thoughts to the family, friends, and loved ones of Antoine Hubert, we've gotten the safety car leading the field underway. Here it is, Armored Core on pole position in the LMPs in front of the 3 TSR Porsches. In the order there is Wyan, Rake, and Martin. Then it's then CJ in the Volex Tomahawk, and Sailor in the end at the bottom end of LMP affairs in the Audi R18 non-hybrid machine. And then jumping to the GTs, it is OP Olu on pole position in front of Joe of the Fire in the Toyota FT1. And then Fred Dude, championship leader, just by 2 points in front of Joe in the BMW M6. Well, Fred is third. We've got the Ruby, Ryan Ruby, and the Fanta liveried Audi R8. And then that's of course P4. Ybear is 5th place amongst the GTs. So more LMPs than GTs lining up today. It's going to be interesting to see how that affects traffic and affects the race. Usually it is the other way around. Oh, and what's happening here? I think Sailor somehow dropping quite a bit away behind. Maybe that is just to have a chance to fire up the rear tires and warm them up here over the last bit of the track, over through the final sector there. And indeed I think so too, Ethan, and I think it's very nice to see all the thoughts and all the respect that's being paid generally here in the motorsports community to Antoine Hubert. Was the same thing when not too long ago the cycling community tragically lost Jörg Lambrecht at the early age of 22. That really had me affected. Anyways, the LMPs are underway, and instantly around the outside here goes Ryan and the TSR Porsche to take the lead. I think Wake, yet again, just like Osusuka, has a little bit of a moment there through turn 1. Then that means that Martin goes up on through, and we're gonna have a look at here at the GC start. Opiolu gets a very slow start, a very slow run, but he gets a good run on Joe of the Fire, who blocks off there Fred Dude, and that opens up the outside for Ryan Ruby in through turn 1, but I think Fred Dude's gonna keep it. Certainly is, as Ryan Ruby almost loses it completely. And that opens up for Ybear in turn here. Ryan now leading Martin. Wake's gonna send it up the inside, and Armored Core has fallen all the way down to 4th place, and we're gonna have another look at that. Armored Core here as they come out of turn 1, actually 2nd, but Martin getting the run with the hybrid power of the Porsche. Same goes for Wake, as the Hyundai, of course, seems to suffer, it seems. Seems to suffer, it seems. It seems. Does it seem that way? Well, it does. Welcome to Uche Jr. So, running order here in the LMPs, it's the 3 TSR Porsches on top, with the Hyundai of Armored Core and the Tomahawk, of course it is, of CJ there right in behind. Sailor seeming to be a little off the pace in the Audi R18 diesel machine there in behind. Opiolu is hanging on to the GT lead, and he's taking along Joe of the Fire for the ride at the moment. Fred Dude is falling behind in the M6, with a little bit of a gap seemingly down to Ybear as well. And then it seems that the Fanta R8 just cannot find the sweet melody at the moment. Ryan really seeming, though, to be on point for the early parts of this race. Of course, 47 laps to be run. Given that the LMPs get around here quite quickly, well, it's no surprise in the end. Interesting to see if the roles will be reversed between Wake and Martin for this one. Although I think the TSR Porsches would have loved to have the race in the rain as well. Same would have gone for Armored Core here. CJ has gone past on Armored Core, and it must have happened earlier on that lap, because Armored Core is also falling quite a bit away behind on the regular softs. Interesting to see just where the time's really being lost to CJ's machine up in front. Could have been a driving mistake as well, as through the first sector on this lap. He's purple. To the lead fight here, Joe of the Fire getting very close now. Just a couple of tenths away from the rear end of Opiolu, but the Corvette seems to pull along strongly. And it seems it's not really a possibility. Joe of the Fire just too far back, half a second here as they exit turn 1. Fred Dude now beginning to get back at the 2 leaders. And Wybear all along losing some time. And same goes for Ryan Ruby. TSR Ryan extending the gap. It's now 2 seconds down to the 2 teammates in the other 2 Porsches behind. Now is Ryan just playing the rabbit here, or is just that slight level across or above the others? And best of luck to you as well in the ESGT, Felix. And if you know of, well, of course there is the official ESGT channel. I guess it would be broadcast there. I'm certainly gonna have a look at it later. As we're gonna go on board with Wake, the Belgian, the king of sugary substances. Tries to get the run on Martin just by breaking that tad later. It's all about the exits here. And Wake gets a sketchy one from that one indeed. It seems the Dutchman is well on pace and well on par with the opposition here. CJ isn't really seeming to make any big inroads to the gap of the Porsches at the moment. And mind you, that Tomahawk isn't very good on its fuel, so CJ really needs to be up on pace. And Armored Core, well, what's happening? He was very quick through the first sector. The other way around here he goes very, very wide in the final corner. Still 4/10 down on the best lap set by Ryan. Opiolu hanging on to that half a second advantage. Joe of the Fire right in behind. Still status quo with about a second and a half in between the 3 leaders of the GT class at the moment. And then considerable gap down to Wybear. And with that, Ryan in the leading 919 now catching up to the bottom runners here and almost catching hell and catching trouble as he has to get through. And I think that, oh, and that's a big. What's that, a shunt? And we're gonna have another look because it's gonna catch us whatever problem there was there for Ryan Ruby as well. Look at that. Oh, got so close there, Ryan. Sketchy moment. And then looking back over his shoulder to see the hurt in the eyes of the other Ryan. The 2 Ryans certainly got sketchy there for a second. Up through the order as well. Seems everyone's gotten safely through on that R8. In trouble. He's back up with Ryan getting a big slide on through turn 1 as well. He's now closing up on Wybear's machine. He even lost some time to Martin in behind. Through that very sketchy moment in behind. Oh, and there, of course, the GT drivers having to be awake in these, they have to be woke indeed in these situations on board yet again. As Fred Dude all of a sudden appears in the wang cam. Safety pass on Joe of the Fire, and now he has to go for the dive on Opiolu, and so he does. Efficient stuff from the race leader. And already now Martin bleeding time, being stuck in traffic here in the middle sector, still not able to push through. Getting it done around the outside this time around, of course, wanting it to be a safe thing as well. But look, the gap now doubling up to Ryan, and Wake in behind getting very close to as well now. CJ is also gaining through all of this. He's gonna get a very good run on Fred Dude as well. And this is how it goes with the traffic. It giveth, it taketh. And now Joe of the Fire very close to Opiolu, who makes contact with CJ's car there on the inside. That's gonna compromise Opiolu as well here. Oh, and there's a very complicated situation as Armored Core goes through as well. Opiolu having to defend this time around from Joe of the Fire. We're gonna have a look at what happened on the replay just shortly. Joe of the Fire, is he going through again? Opiolu does get the run back on the NES Toyota driver on the inside there. That was an oof indeed. That's gonna open it up for Fred Dude. All the while in behind here. The Belgian all but closing up on the 2 leaders in the M6, although it seems he's bogged down ever so slightly by the ballast that he is running. Now we're going on board with Joe of the Fire for a premium view of what actually happened. Expect to see CJ's Tomahawk up the inside, the Volex machines. There it comes as he... Oh, it actually... That looked like contact, but it actually was just Opiolu reacting to it. And Joe of the Fire has, though, made the pass stick this time around. And when did that happen? Just exactly. We're gonna have yet another look at things. That time, it might have been contact, though, as Sailor went through. And Sailor should know that he's not supposed to type as well. But anyway, unlucky situation there for Opiolu, losing the lead after a little bit of contact. Not enough to cause damage to the Corvette. I think it wasn't enough to cause damage to the Audi as well. They might not even have touched in the end. But not the luckiest of situations. Nevertheless, Ryan now up to a 5-second lead in front, still in front of the 2 other TSR machines. CJ, who's lost some time this time out, he's got Armored Core for company. A little more behind. Oh, it's Opiolu and Joe of the Fire getting, I was about to say intimate. If that's even enough. Looked like they had contact here. Joe of the Fire still keeping the inside line, and it's about to be a 3-way. This is getting very sexual indeed, as Fred Dude joins in for the fun. We're of course gonna have another look at what happened before in a short moment. We're just gonna follow this all the way through. Opiolu having a look, but no more than that. Might compromise the Corvette into the final corner. Managing to close off Fred Dude. Though the BMW has a good run here, but it doesn't have the acceleration to match. And we're gonna go on with the replay. There it is. That was just a tad too short to actually see what happened coming into there. And here we are. Just managing to watch the wrong car yet again. We're gonna watch Opiolu's machine, and then from the onboard view now he's not even really getting attacked by Joe of the Fire here. Oh god. Well, that went well as my oh, thanks for that. DS4 obviously needs thorough cleaning. Status quo in the LMPs, and Joe of the Fire has made the switch work, but he's under pressure from Opiolu, seeming to have very good pace here in the dry as well in the Corvette. And it's Fred Dude with the pressure from behind. The GT race seeming to present us with a very good 3-way battle for the lead here, as we're closing in on lap 10 for the GTs. Of course, the LMP's already there. Again, Opiolu out of the final corner. Pulls away from Fred Dude yet again. Although Fred Dude was getting very close this time around. And is it going to be the same story into turn 1 as Fred Dude gets a little bit squiggly? It certainly is. Super exit from the Corvette. It's going to be difficult for the Belgian to get the run into turn 1. Ryan, it's 6.3 seconds down to Martin. Who's now making his way around Ryan. Ruby Wake a further 1.8 seconds off. And it's Porsche dominance at the moment. And the other piece, oh, was there contact there? That is a very good question, and one that I cannot answer before, but now I can. There's engine damage for Wake, and I think there's gonna be big damage as well. And that's gonna call out, I think we're just gonna have a look. Ryan Ruby. It's gonna be enough to call out the safety car for me. So the safety car to come out after that incident, the field to bunch up, And that's gonna be music. Oh, what? And as you can hear, Stella, the half the race, going wildly excited about the fact that we're getting a safety car on track here. Here is Erebus. I'm about to pick up some parts of the field. It's gonna be the GT leaders first of all. That's Joe of the Fire, Opiolu, Fred Dude, and Bear, who's managed to tag along. And that battle, of course, is gonna be wide open yet again. A big oof, a big situation there. Ryan Ruby, who's been struggling with the grip, it seems, of the car all the way through. And the fact that the pits are closed, well, it certainly isn't gonna help. Well, that's Ryan catching up. And of course, gonna give the time for the field to bunch up. And then there's some overtaking to be done for the LMPs. For this to go in orderly fashion. Don't want any incidents through this as well. Getting back to the correct running order as well. Very orderly. A bunch that knows the drill. Although we have been safe from these kind of incidents on the most part. In the pro splits at least. The AM splits haven't exactly been that lucky. The pit is open. And that means those who are wanting to make pit stops are now allowed to do so. That is, of course, gonna be Wake. That is, of course, gonna be Ryan Ruby as well. Joe of the Fire gained the GT lead. Rather lucky in a situation where Sailor slightly forced an overtake. And of course, that might be something that the stewards are going to be looking at after the race. We'll have to see about that. Of course, nothing I can really comment upon. Except for the fact that it's, of course, always the responsibility of the faster cars to safely overtake traffic. And that, of course, always means that the GTs should keep it safe and predictable. But I don't really think that Opiolu wasn't keeping it predictable in that situation. And as they came through this very corner, slightly got scared. A Sailor sent it up the inside, but that in turn allowed Joe of the Fire to take the GT lead. He hasn't looked back ever since. He's keeping it for the time being. So whoever's gonna pit in, I call it, is gonna be on this lap. It seems Sailor could be open for it. It's breaking off to the right anyways. Ryan going past the pits. Same goes for Martin. CJ isn't pitting in as well. So it's Armored Core, Sailor, and Wake are the LMPs to pit in. And in the GTs, Joe of the Fire, Fred Dude, Ryan Ruby, and Opiolu all pitting in. Ybear, the only one to stay out. So that might be an interesting turn of events. And of course, just gonna see what's gonna be. Oh, as Martin manages to put it into the grass under safety car. Can someone clip this? Oh, I'll do it myself afterwards. Brilliant stuff. The rallycross route from TSR Martin. Good thing for him that there's plenty of time for the tires to get clean again. So under safety car, and yet again, I think it's only... No, there is a... Running order is all good. And Joe of the Fire is now at the back of affairs. What's happened to Ybear? How did Ybear get... Ybear hasn't pitted. Ybear has picked up damage as well. Ybear has picked up damage. Well, it hasn't been from contact with Opiolu. We're gonna go through on the LMPs. I don't see anything here as well. That's utterly strange. Indeed. It seems we are running in the correct order. It's gonna be next lap to have fair warning. That means Dredgen, our SC driver. Thanks, David. The commentator shall win. Oh, and there it is. He breaks off quicker than I had expected. And so it is Ryan's race to restart. And right off they go. Back to green. Back to green flag indeed it is. And Armored Core waving around. He wasn't really ready for that. He's going to be defending from Wake in the 919. Around turn 1 they go here. It might be a difficult one. I think Wake got a very good run out of turn 1 as well. Up through the kink that is turn 2. Although I don't agree really on that call. And then people call this one turn 3. But anyways, Wake goes up into 4th place. And Joe of the Fire is going to be hanging on to it. I think there was something happening here as Fred Dude is now back into 3rd place. We're going to have a look at the GT restart as well. What happened to Fred Dude? He was leading it. Oh, he got a poor run and he got absolutely rear-ended there by Ryan Ruby. And that's of course damage to those 2 cars as well. It's not going to be enough to call out the safety car. Now there's a big battle here for 2nd place. Oh, what's happened to Ryan? Is he's down in 3rd place as well now? It's really kicking off. And there's contact between the 2 TSR Porsches through the middle sector. And what has happened here? Now Martin's leading in front of Ryan Wake, then Armored Core and CJ in 5th place in the Volex Esports Tomahawk. And it's all kicking off, and it's all really hard to follow up on what's happening. Joe of the Fire leading by a 2nd down to Opiolu. Ybear, Ryan Ruby, then Fred Dude must be absolutely steaming inside the cockpit of his M6. And he was, for no real reason, rear-ended by Ryan Ruby. But what happened in that situation? Well, I'm not entirely sure. Martin now leading Ryan. And it's all TSR here at the front. And it's going to be difficult for the Dutchman, I think, to keep a hold of the lead now. Who did pit? Well, Wake did pit. Wake is on... Well, it's a good question, Sailor. Oh, I wrote just have just happened to me that I wrote this next lap. This next lap. That might have been my mistake then. For that I apologize. In the heat of the moment there, getting it wrong. But it should have been next lap. I was expecting the safety car to do another lap, so that's yeah. But anyway, Joe of the Fire with 1 second's worth of advantage. Opiolu's gotten rid of Wirebear, who's in turn gotten rid of Ryan Ruby and Fred Dude as well. Fred Dude, after having been into the pits, might be in a bad situation, and very much so, given that Fred Dude was one of the drivers to pit under the safety car. Wirebear, who did not pit under the safety car, seems to be in a bad position indeed now. And it's all playing into the hands of Joe of the Fire here. Sailor seems perhaps wasn't entirely ready for the race restart. Yet again now Martin's pulling away from Ryan in second. And then they're really bunching up behind here as Armored Core is now really getting onto the tail of Wake. We're gonna see exactly what's that gonna mean. I mean, Armored Core certainly not out of contention, but there are two 919s in the way of the American and that lead position at the moment. It's Martin who's putting down the hammer in front of affairs, closing in on lap 20 of 47 for the LMPs. Still a good battle it is, although it seems here on this lap Armored Core suffering a little bit. We're gonna go on board with Ryan, currently sitting in second place, and the Wang Cam raking away from Wake at the moment, and that's gonna aid the pace of all of them, I think, as Ryan is now working into the gap up to Martin in front. Might be an interesting fight between the three Porsches. As Martin getting past on the R8, so does Ryan. Wake gets caught in behind. No, he sets it. Oh, I wasn't expecting that. Not the most cautious of approaches here from the Belgian. That's from very, very, very far back. Seems there's an open road though, as Ryan Ruby is doing a pretty good job of keeping the way open. By the way, Fred Dude's gotten back past. I think Ryan Ruby's had a pit stop to fix the damage that we picked up there. TSR Ryan with sliding back and forth. This time it's Fred Dude getting lapped. Here are the two Flemish drivers, Wake and Fred Dude, also making sure to get the overtaking done in a safe manner. On board now with the... that's not on board. Here's the Super GT view of Crazy John. Here's the onboard. It's a patient approach from the very experienced Greek driver as well. Joe of the Fire, status quo with that 1 second gap down to Opiolu. And they've really broken away from Wirebear. Wirebear still carrying that damage. Obviously wanting to keep it out on track, but I'm not sure that was a wise decision in the end. Fred Dude, 19 seconds down, but I think Wirebear really bleeding time to the Belgian. And all the while, Martin looking pretty comfy in the 55 machine. When Ryan and then Wake, those two still pretty close to one another. course, traffic holding up Martin ever so slightly on this lap. Ryan gets a good run past Weiber. Oh, but who gets a really good run? That's Armored Core, who's close to 2.5 of the gap up to Wake in front. That's certainly aiding the American along through traffic this time around. There's a further 3.5 seconds down to the Volex. Tomahawk of CJ now getting past on Joe of the Fire as well. Well, that's of course not Joe of the Fire, that is the car of Weiber. Let's go up with the... Have a look at the GT lead battle here. Joe of the Fire and Opiolu. It's still going. Evening Cliche. Nice to have you along. I hope you are all well, and I hope you're enjoying. I hope you've been enjoying, and that you will still be enjoying what's left of the weekend, as we have a big incident here in the penultimate corner. I think that's Ryan Ruby on very, very, very worn rear tires. We're gonna have a look at what went wrong. It looked like the R8, and it certainly was, as he goes very sideways here. A pirouette, and that's it. Before entering the pits, that seemed to be necessary. So, oh. It could have been worse. It could very much have been worse. Now it's Ryan overtaking on Martin there. Where did that come from? Just as we have the action kicking off somewhere else. The move was made. I think Martin must have made some kind of mistake there. Seems to be suffering ever so slightly. I think it's the tires, perhaps. Could be the tires. But if so, Ryan didn't pit as well. So it's Wake with the advantage in that case. As we're just around the half the race gone marker by now. Porsche 1, 2, 3, Hyundai in 4th, and then SRT with the Tomahawk, or Dodge if you may, in 5th place. Audi with the R18 of Sailor in 6th place. Here in comes CJ for a planned pit stop. The only one of the race, might I add, for the Greek. And what's that gonna do for CJ's chances? It's a good question, actually. This Wake really powers out of that corner. Just fresh tires for the Belgian. He's got around half a tank of fuel left. Doesn't seem to be quite enough. That, of course, depends if there's going to be another safety car period. That would be one difficult thing to count upon. That'd be one way to put it, at least for me here. Opiolu's gotten passed on Joe of the Fire as well. And how we managed not to catch anything today, well, I do apologize, but it's the name of the game sometimes. The witty professor being outwitted by Opiolu in the Corvette. Evening Swablu. And now Joe of the Fire. Well, that was a little nudgy there from the witty professor. The question is, well, there's no damage to either of the cars. Did Opiolu force his way through? And was that a way for Joe of the Fire to say, well, if that's the way we're playing, if that's the name of the game, two can play at that. But Evening Swap, who as well, a good weekend to you. I hope you are doing well. Up comes CJ to lap these two. Does so safely. As I say that, CJ goes very, very wide indeed. We weren't able to catch that overtaking move from before. But the run into turn 3 it might be for Joe of the Fire, but just a tad too far back. Now Martin, what's happened to Martin? Oh, Martin's picked up engine damage. Martin's picked up engine damage, and there it is on the exit of turn 4. getting it all wrong indeed. And a solo accident that is, so no safety car to be deployed. It's going to be very costly for TSR Martin. It's going to be falling into the clutches of Sailor CJ, who just had his only planned pit stop at least. He's going to be getting well past, and he's going to be at the bottom of the running order in the LMPs. Poor luck. And that's leaving just 2 Porsches out in front as Ryan now is on a purple lap through the first sector. It's gone into the 15s. Wake there around 3 seconds behind. And then it's Armored in the Hyundai. 1.5 seconds off. But in third place now. And it's still pretty close, within 5 seconds, the 3 leaders here. And then in the GT's Opiolu now defending from Joe of the Fire here down towards turn 1. And will the witty one be able to throw in a late one? Well, he wasn't, and it wasn't to be, at least through turn 1. It seems the Corvette has very good straight line pace. Y-Bear now entering the pits. Yet again, able to make it stick there. Joe of the Fire is Y-Bear. And how can it... Ryan into the pits. Oh, this is an interesting one. I think it's going to be the only scheduled stop as well for Ryan. Did Sailor pit under safety car? Yeah, I think Sailor actually did pit under the safety car. And that means that the Norwegian is just out in front of the 919 of Ryan. And for how long will they be able to defend? That's a good question indeed. But the safety car really skewering strategy and tactics here in this race. And Sailor in the Audi R18 non-hybrid machine is up into third place. CJ, who's also had his stop, 9.7 seconds. Mind you, Sailor needs to do a very long second stint in the Audi here as Ryan goes for it, sends it up the inside and gets past. So half a lap, and that was it pretty much here as Wake is into the pits as well. Wake is into the pits for a needed stop of fuel and tires, but Wake did it already under the safety car. Could imagine that it perhaps would have been smarter to do a little more fueling, as it wouldn't have cost the same amount of time there. That leaves Armored Core now leading Ryan, Sailor, Wake, CJ and Martin in the LMPs, and in the GTs it's still Opiolu just about leading from Joe of the Fire. Fred Dude has climbed back up into third place, but the bad luck of the Belgian has put him 26 seconds off of the 2 leaders, with a 21 advantage on Y-Bear behind in 4th place. And then it's Ryan Ruby in 5th in the GTs, having had quite some issues with the tire wear, especially the stability generally of the Audi R8 so far. Armored Core though, interestingly, if Armored Core can make the tires last the distance, well, there should be fuel in the car to go the distance as well. But just as I say that, that most certainly isn't gonna be, and it seems the tires most certainly aren't gonna go the distance for Armored Core. The question is, only tires for this one? That's certainly how I imagine it to be, and that is how it is as well. Here comes Ryan, and we're gonna see if the American is able to squeeze out in front of the 919. And it is. He is, so Armored Core effectively leading here. There's some engine damage picked up from Ryan Ruby. Oh, that's a solo incident as well. At the point where it isn't really possible to have any more running to do with damage. It isn't going to be to bring out enough to bring out the safety car. is in the rule books. It is stated that it needs to be an incident including 2 or more vehicles in order to bring out the safety car. So Armored Core keeping a hold of the lead. It's 1.3 seconds down to Ryan in the 919. Wake now getting held up by Fred Dude through the middle sector. And that's a good opportunity actually for Sailor, who's now sitting 4th in the R18. And then 5.6 seconds by now down to CJ. Martin, another 5 seconds down. Should also have had the final stop, the only stop for him done with. I think the damage came at a lucky time, and where it still came so close to the natural pit window of proceedings here. Certainly limited the scale of the disaster for Martin. They're still pretty close altogether. Armored Core really needs to find something special to fend off TSR Ryan. And Wake is going to be right in the background, lurking at it all. And here's Sailor now sitting 4th, really taking advantage of every possible situation. Having driven a very good race so far in the non-hybrid Audi. Still a wide open race, especially in the LMP class, but in both classes actually. As this advantage, Opiolu down to Joe of the Fire. It seems to hover, but it seems to hover around 0.2 of a second, which is to say the least, that isn't a lot. Now comes Armored Core to get past, and that means we'll have a train of LMPs arriving shortly. There's TSR Ryan in the 919 there, squeezes in on the inside of Opiolu. Joe of the Fire went for an opportunistic one there, just tried to squeeze in alongside, but didn't have the momentum to carry on through, and seems to suffer under the ballast every time there's a straight bit. Opiolu runs away with it from Joe of the Fire. Sailor now coming up to overtake, so we've had Wake getting past very safely indeed. Very safely, I don't know if that's the thing. Here, Joe of the Fire breaking off into the pits for what I think is a planned stop. The question is, how does the tires look on Opiolu's Corvette? Oh, they are very spent. So Joe of the Fire with an attempt to undercut Opiolu here on the final round of pit stops. Got around, well, just under 20 laps, actually quite a margin under 20 laps, closer to 15 laps. By now we are nearing the final period of this race here, as Armored Core has all but lost his advantage down to Ryan, and the battle for the lead in the LMP class very much alive. Into the middle section they go. Wake now having lost some additional time, 5.5 seconds down on our 2 leaders. Further 6 seconds down to Sailor. Where's CJ in all of this? He's lost time to Martin. He's also catching Sailor at the same time. Hashtag real burp. Guess you heard that. Oh, now yet again Ryan Ruby picking up another load of damage here with another solo accident, and in the final corner yet again. So that's another entire lap to do. It's certainly been a tough race for the Audi R8. Of course, still hanging on to it, still extending. But look how Ryan is plowing into the advantage. And the 919 once it gets close. Opiolu now pitting in. We're gonna have a look at just how that turns out in that battle against Joe of the Fire. We are on board with Opiolu. There is Joe of the Fire, so the undercut has indeed worked. And Joe of the Fire now 1.5 seconds clear, so it's worked well indeed for the witty professor. Swablu, you cheeky... So Joe of the Fire hops into the lead. It's Fred Dude still hanging on to 3rd place, but he's getting caught by Y-Bear. That battle for 3rd could very much still be a thing. And it seems to me Ryan is getting closer and closer. Purple time through sector 1 here. Oh, goes deep into turn 1. Gets a very good exit, of course. That's down to the hybrid unit of the 919 as well. And TSR Ryan now harrying the rear end of the American in front. Armored Core in the Hyundai. They're both extending down to Wake. And I guess down to the rest of the LMP field as well. Seeming to be the 2 fastest runners. Now making their way up on Armored Core there. Oh, there's a squeeze from Ryan. But a successful one nonetheless. Fred Dude, yeah, he shows that, oh, this one is open. Come on through. Rightfully so. The leading battle here goes undisturbed. Question is, will Opiolu have the pace to pull back Joe of the Fire here over these final laps, or will the witty professor just have enough of an advantage to pull away? 1.8 seconds at the moment. It's not really close enough for Opiolu to be within the slipstream, but he seems to have the advantage on pure top speed, which is a good advantage to have here. And Ryan's gone off. Ryan has absolutely pinned it on the exit of turn 3. Have a look here, ladies and gentlemen. Goes too far. Oh! Gets sucked off to the left by the understeering powers there of the hybrid system. Oh, and that almost makes for another accident. Or at least I think a tight squeeze. We're gonna have another look at what exactly happened here. Look at the perspective here for Fred Dude. Evening to Pinkery. The forecast rain did arrive for qualifying. And then somehow, magically, the track has dried before the race. Here it comes. Oh, that's that. Oh, just managed to miss it, but nothing happened for Fred Dude, and that's the most important part in the end. Here is Ryan in for a very, very necessary pit stop. And the perfect performance that was that 1-2-3 for TSR, well, that's really fallen apart by now. Following those 2 incidents of Martin and Ryan now getting past on CJ, and that's actually a 3-way battle. That's Martin, Sailor, and CJ as well. Now Martin on the outside of Sailor into turn 3. CJ's gonna have a good run here perhaps. Although there's gonna be no denying the hybrid power of the 919 going past on the inside of Sailor there. On the way down towards turn 4, let's see if the R18 can come back. Certainly doesn't seem so. Let's have another look at that situation. On board now with TSR Martin. It's gone from 5th to 3rd place in a matter of moments. Starts with CJ getting a strangely weird bad exit there. That's the car of Y-Bear. They're passing 3 wide. And that's even with a little bit of a touch. The 919 still just powers clear with that hybrid system. And here, now there's an overtake as well at the front of affairs. Because Armored Core, well, he's been into the pits. Forced to do some refueling. I'm not sure that was necessary. Is it for the tires? Well, it might be, but it's they're hardly worn at all. And in the end, Armored Core's now in second position. They're getting past on Opiolu, chasing down Joe of the Fire. The gap isn't too big between those two as well. And Martin, oh, I thought 33 seconds. That looked a little weird. It is now 11.5 seconds from the Dutchman, who somehow has managed to regain third place. CJ now in fourth, Sailor in fifth, and Ryan rejoining, that is, in sixth place, bottom runner in the LMPs at the moment. So certainly not the luckiest of runners today either. Opiolu has lost some time on Joe of the Fire. That advantage of 3.6 seconds now might be decisive. I think the gap down to Fred Dude, well, 23 seconds isn't going to change too much unless they have some sort of bad luck here. Wake, after the pit stop of Armored Core in behind, is now leading. But the question is, will Wake need a pit stop? I think could find Armored Core with a considerable pace advantage here over these last 10 laps, as Wake's rubber beneath him really starts to deteriorate and the grip level starts to suffer as a consequence here. But this is going to be helping Armored Core in any way if he's going to be going wide and deep into the corners in the way that he just went into to turn 3. Have a look here with Armored Core. We're on board. She really misses the braking point. Kicks well from the low speed there, but it's gonna need more consistent driving than that. Martin now catching up to Joe of the Fire. Opiolu really suffering, it seems. Joe of the Fire finding a pace that's just that tad above. And with someone in between himself and Fred Dude, that's going to open up the point standings in the GT's Pro Split as well. And I think, from what I can calculate in my head, off the top of my head, Joe of the Fire is going to take the lead. CJ holding on to fourth place. Sailor, we've had the final pit stop for Sailor. Although I was actually thinking the Norwegian was perhaps going to be able to keep it running to the line. It wasn't so, and now that means Ryan's up into fifth place. That of course also means that CJ is up into fourth place now, really being chased down by Ryan, who will have fresh tires and fuel enough to make it till the end. So could be seeing some very fast lap times from Ryan here towards the end of the race. Still holder of the fastest LMP lap here with a 1:15.7. So, Ethan. Also through sector 2, still purple there. Ryan on a really hot lap indeed. CJ, that gap was closer to 4 seconds a moment or two ago. This lap here is a 17.7, and Ryan with a 15.2, half a second up. That's a big chunk of time to take out of the fastest lap of the race so far. Indeed, it's also a very big chunk to take out of the advantage of the Greek driver in front, as CJ is now going to be struggling, I think, to defend from the flying TSR driver that coming up behind on fresh rubber. Are you back or are you baked, Ethan? Or are you back and baked? Or are you back baked? You're back baked from your beer? My letter rhyming here sucks. I'm sorry, but welcome back. Of course, a pleasure, as it always is. Oh, look at this, as Armored Core is now getting very close to the bumper of Wake there in front, and it is going to be a battle that's really going to be going all the way to the line. 7 more laps. Oh yeah, Ethan, of course. Of course. Oh, a little bit of a touch. A Verstappen moment as Wake is pushed to the outside and gains the lead. Through goes Armored Core. Judge for yourself. Was that a Verstappen-esque move? On board with Wake here, gonna... A little bit of that nudge. It's actually exactly the move that happened between... Exactly like a carbon copy of that incident between Verstappen and Charles Leclerc in that very same corner as Wake squeezed into second place. It was a slight bit naughty indeed from Armored Core. Martin's holding up to it here. Ryan has gotten past on CJ. We're gonna have a look and see if there's... For once, we're on point, on time. It seems... No, it wasn't that under. That is a big advantage in acceleration there for the 919. Oh, this really the car to beat. But Armored Core in the Hyundai is doing it at the moment, and he's really putting in time. A bit of a shame to see the forceful move made from the American. It seems there is quite a considerable pace advantage. Now up to 2 seconds, given that Armored Core is on very fresh rubber. TSR Wake is not. Martin's falling behind. Ryan is catching up to the Dutchman as well. And the question is Martin even gonna go or be able to go all the way to the line? Well, that's a very good question in the end as well. And all the while, it's looking very steady for the witty professor. The Joe2 guy, also a TSR driver by now, but using his old account it seems, but he's nevertheless leading. And ever since he gained the lead after that final stop, the undercut that worked on Opiolu, just found that extra bit of pace to pull out an advantage and keep it. And that's seems to have sealed the win here today for Joe of the Fire in the Toyota FT1, Opiolu in the Corvette, and of course Fred Dude in third place still in the M6. And then Armored Core really pulling out an advantage down to Wake. And then I think Ryan, now 13.5 seconds down. So that battle for third is going to be between Ryan, Martin and CJ all the way through. Martin's gotten past on CJ as well. What's up, Tetsu? How did the AM race go? I take it that you're already done? Or you're on lap 41? Well, you can see the status of our race here. Have you been on safety cars and such? Of course, hop over to Tetsu's profile if you want to follow the AM race. Tetsu is the functioning race director. Also seems to broadcast most of the races. That's a very good reason to jump up over and check out what's happening in the AM split. Still with some racing left to go. Armored Core 5.5 seconds now pulled out on Wake. A considerable advantage for the American. Running very strongly. And just seeming to have been the most consistent and the wisest strategy-wise all the way through in the LMP field here. And of course also one of the drivers not to make any mistakes really. Same could be said for Wake, I think, and CJ, who's driven a very good race, I think, but just been suffering a car that doesn't really seem to be as fast as the 919s, and now caught up by traffic here behind Fred Dude and gets a squiddly moment as well. And thanks, Cliche. I really appreciate it. Thanks to all of you for stopping by, keeping me company, and checking out the racing here. It's been one of the better races. It's been a really good one, actually. Unpredictable action throughout. Armored Core was in turn on pole position after a rainy qualifying session, but seemed to suffer early on pace-wise. He's picked up the pieces. Had a very strong finish to the race indeed. Now the question is, Wake gonna be falling into the clutches of Ryan in the last 3 laps or so? I cannot see that happening. I simply cannot. He was Sailor on a personal best lap at the moment, that last lap. A 1:17.2. And about to catch up to, well, the question is if that's Joe of the Fire or Wirebear. I think that's Wirebear, the Indonesian in the 99 machine. Brian Ruby. Impressive that the R8 is still running. It's taken quite a beating here. It's been a tough one for Ryan Ruby indeed. It's still running, and that is most importantly in the end here. Armored Core, almost 10 seconds. And Wake has lost 3 seconds down to Ryan since last time we checked. So either the Belgian has made some kind of mistake, there hasn't been any damage. Those front tires though look very worn to me. And in the end, that might just make it interesting here. There's just a lap and a half to go. I really can't see it opening up. Ryan still posting laps in the 15s at this point. I don't think Wake is getting close to anywhere near that. And the gap is really just melting away. Oh, and Armored Core's pitting in on the way out to the final lap. And just as we thought that there wouldn't be any more action on this Sunday evening, it seems there's been an underfueling by the Hyundai mechanics. A new team to the NES, and they show, and just about he's just gonna, no, he's not gonna make it out, and they're gonna go side by side. Oh, this is, I'm holding my breath. Another bit of a nudge there from Armored Core, shoving Wake to the outside. And all the while TSR Ryan is gaining up on this one. Yes, Tetsu, we've had a single safety car indeed. And now there's the inside move from Wake. Wake is in the lead here on the final lap. Up comes Ryan to shove through as well. This is epic stuff. TSR now 1-2 with the Porsches. Who would have thought that? Here come through's gonna go Ryan on the fresh tires. And I'm gonna lose my voice. Oh, this is really edge of the seat stuff now. Armored Core isn't out of it yet. He has the fresher tires of all of them. 2 corners remaining. He's gonna go around the outside into the penultimate one. Oh, he's gonna make it. And in the end, it's gonna be TSR Ryan taking the victory. What a finale with Armored Core under fueling. And the top 3 finishing within 2.5 seconds. Indeed, crazy stuff here from the Nukeshot Endurance Series Pro Split. Crazy finale here. What an insane one. And there is the checkered flag for the GT leader, Pro of the Fire. GT Pro leader Joe of the Fire. Much less drama for them. What an insane finale. And here, let's just have a look at this. Here comes Armored Core. It's gonna try to defend this first one. Up the inside is Wake. There's that little bit of contact. There is Ryan. And through is... Oh, it's just a thanks for last time out. And the question is, how much is it gonna be able to show us? Well, we just hope to show a lot here. We're still on board with Armored Core. What an insane last lap as well. Here comes the round, the outside move here in the penultimate corner. Sure, the Belgian wasn't loving that one. They both go a little bit wide. And in the end, it's Ryan with the win for TSR. What a race. What a finish. And I cannot imagine the Belgian here to be too satisfied with those little bits of contact. We would love to hear from the drivers. I'm gonna present you with a very short moment of bouncy heads as I get a party going. And I'm gonna just invite both of the top threes as well. So we can hear from all of them. That's Armored Core, that's gonna be Fred Dude, Joe, Opiolu, Ryan, and Wake. But indeed, Armored Core did go very wide in that final corner. It all seemed to go a little rough around the edges, with multiple short incidents of contact. As we're joined by Joe of the Fire, our GT leader.
Hello.
Congratulations, Joe. It's been a while since we've talked here in the post-race interviews, but it seemed to go very well for you, qualifying in second, and then just nudging out Opiolu with the undercut, and then seeming to just have that little bit of extra pace at the end. Was that your experience of it as well?
Mostly, yeah. At the end, he swapped over from supers onto regular softs, and I think that hurt him a bit. Because I was staying on supers the whole race. And then the safety car at the start, that fitted in roughly with my two-stop strategy, so that was good. Just stop lap early. And then we have whatever madness happened at the restart. I managed to pass 2 cars before the first corner, and then the other 2 up into turn 2 or 3.
Yeah, that looked chaotic to say the least. I didn't really see what happened but I saw there was some contact between Ryan, Ruby, and Fred Dude. It seemed that really took Fred out of the equation for the win in the GT class. But nonetheless, Joe, a great drive. Congratulations for the win. Let's just see. Did we get joined by Opiolu here? That'll be a big no. I think Fred joined us, by the way. Fred, you there? Hello. Oh, great. Third place on a day where it seemed it could have been more, or was that the maximum potential of the M6 with the ballast today? Alright, so it seems, Fred, your settings have been made so that you don't share your voice, but I'll just quickly go through what Fred said. Okay, Fred is fixing his settings. Yeah.
Now?
I think should be good now.
Yeah, so want me to repeat what I said, or?
Yeah, just quickly, how much of it you find important? It's all good.
Well, all I can say is that I'm not exactly happy with where I finished, because I would have loved to have a battle with Blue and Joe for maybe battle to the lead. But unfortunately, due to a safety car call, which was kind of unclear, but cost me a lot of time, and also I got hit in the rear by someone, so I had to go into the pits again to fix my damage. Eventually fueled up, and then afterwards I just gave it all, ran as quick as I could to catch up to Bear, and eventually overtook him in the pits. So yeah, eventually I got third. That's all I could do really, although I really would have loved to stay with Opal and Joe the Fire, but unfortunately that didn't really happen, sadly. So yeah.
Alright, but cheers Fred dude, nevertheless congratulations on the podium, and hope to have more luck for next week's race on your part. Seems we have Opiolu in the party, just joined the party for now. Opiolu, second place today, and they were pole position was scored very convincingly indeed, and just being nudged off there by Joe of the Fire, who seemed to have the undercut running there. Did you see the undercut coming in that situation?
Yeah, once he pitted, I knew it was pretty much over, because I was only really sticking with him in the first and main straight. Their strength was a lot faster than mine, so I knew then I just had to save the tyres, because I had a good gap to third place.
Yeah, indeed. But it seemed to me that you had the pace for most of the race to not only stay with Joe but also pull away, but all of a sudden he just had that, like, did you have a faster car at the beginning of the race, or was it Joe that had a little more pace to turn up to there at the end?
I think he had the upper hand for actually the most of the race. I would just lose a lot of time in the middle sector, and I'd only stay in the lead because of my straight line speed.
Well, alright then, but anyways, cheers Opiolu, thanks for hopping in and joining us here, and thanks to the GT podium, congrats to all of you, looking forward to seeing you on track again next week. With that, just been left by Armored Core, so I think we'll go right to Wake, the Sugar Man.
Hello.
Not too happy with that last lap, are you? I could understand from you.
No, I'm really not happy with what happened in turn 2. I got somehow damaged, and then it was just defending, and it was yeah, I don't have any pace anymore with all the damage, and that's why Ryan caught up and overtook us. And then the last 2 turns, I don't know what that was, but he just extended so much of the runoff. Yeah.
But what a race for us spectators. Really came to be an exciting finish, and I hope that you drivers will be able to sort it out between you.
I did not expect AC to Armored Core to pit again. I thought he had enough fuel, but seemingly he did not. Yeah. I thought the race was already over and I had to settle for P2. So, yeah.
Well, it wasn't expected to be, but it was to be interesting, and well, bad luck being on the receiving end, ending third, I guess, isn't so bad in the end.
Congrats to Ryan for his race win.
And congratulations to you as well, and to the TSR boys. And as I don't think we have Armored Core amongst us anymore, Ryan, what a win!
Yes.
Coming in penultimate lap, coming into that final lap, I don't imagine that you were seeing this win as something that was right around the corner.
Well, I wasn't really expecting the win, because, of course, I kind of killed myself with the whole crashing. And then as I came out the pits for the first like five laps, they were all in the 15s, and I was really going for it. Also had to short shift a little bit, but then when I saw all that chaos, and also saw Armored Corps, he pitted, which was a bit surprising. I was very happy that they all fighting and all that, but also I heard the damage that Wheat got, so I was kind of sad about that, but I got a win, so...
Well, somebody's gonna be on the lucky end when someone else is on the receiving end, and you seem to be on the lucky end there for those final couple of laps. But yet again, I just have to say, what a show we were left with there. I love it when it's unpredictable, and I think the audience agrees. So on our part, we just want to thank you. And well, a final congratulations to our LMP podium here from the 4th round of the 5th season of the Nukeshot Endurance Series. Say hi,
Thanks,
everyone.
Dirten. Thanks for the podcast.
Hello.
Bye.
Hello.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
With that, I'm gonna have bouncy heads. We're gonna cut off everyone else, and I'm gonna say thank you all very, very much for tuning in here to have the race go on for the NES tonight. It has been my absolute utmost of pleasures having you along. Of course, my name is DirtenDK, and you can see more NES here on the channel next week, same time. That's 8:30 Central European time. We'll be back on this coming Thursday with the TSR special event from Tsukuba. I'll be joined in the commentary booth by Martin of the TSR team, which is going to be very good fun indeed. And then, of course, yeah, our regular TSR Tuesdays coming back. We'll have Dirten Rally soon again, I guess, and lots of other good stuff. If you liked the broadcast here, leave a like on it. And if you really like what we do, you can subscribe to the channel to stay in tune and in touch. And with that said, I think all that remains is for me to say, well, thanks for tonight. It's been a pleasure. And until next time, take care, have fun, and bye-bye.